So the Bandai Namco cross store is now open in London, Camden specifically. Camden is a busy place. I haven't been there in years, so this is the first time in many years that I've stepped foot in Camden Market. And it was very busy, evidently. The first floor of this store is all Gashapon, pretty much. I would say 90% is Gashapon. And it clearly was quite busy. The Gashapon range from a lot of different things, from the actual, say, One Piece stuff that Bandai are known for, and of course Dragon Ball. You've got some animal kind of critters and stuff, which look pretty good. And then you've got also some Nintendo stuff, including Animal Crossing and Kirby. There'll be some things that I'm interested in, like Initial D, for example, that maybe they don't do Gashapon anymore, but they didn't have those. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of repetitive stuff as well, which is fairly standard setup in Japan as well. If you haven't experienced this in Japan, this is definitely a way to experience it. They vary in price, so you've got 2 tokens or 3 tokens. The Gundam one, for example, is 3 tokens, and then the one I went for, which was Animals in a Sauna, was 2 tokens. So for me personally, I decided just to stick with the Animals in a Sauna because it was quite amusing. Plus, I didn't want to spend too much money on these either. So what you have to do is basically you go to one of several kind of coin or token machines that are on that floor. You tap your card to the machine like I will do, and it will charge you £10. But what you'll get is change, pound coins back, plus the 2 tokens. So it won't charge you, you won't lose money basically, right? You'll get your £2 worth of tokens, and then I think it was £8, right? I didn't even count. That's silly of me. I should have really counted my change. But yeah, you'll get change back plus the tokens. If you do want to buy the 3 token one, you've got to do it twice, so then you're paying £20, which is a little bit I think there's a better way to do that, because I don't really carry cash on me, so this now just forces me to hold cash. Anyway, I went about my way. I took the tokens, put it into the machine, and that was the Animal Sauna one that I decided to pick. I either wanted the crocodile or the polar bear. I just picked these because it just looked really kind of amusing for me, and I liked it. It was kind of different. I didn't want to do One Piece or Dragon Ball, even though I like Dragon Ball. I got the polar bear, the white polar bear with the towel around it, which is kind of funny, and I'm going to keep it on my desk. So it looks pretty good. Then you can recycle your little capsule as well in this little kind of contraption thing. It's made of card, I guess, but it's kind of fun, I guess. The rest of the floor is arcade zone. It's really tiny. Didn't really appeal to me. There's no flagship stuff here. No Tekken, which is just mind-blowing for me. No Time Crisis, just something that they're known for. But yeah, definitely improvements that they can do there. Moving up to the first floor, or the second floor, or the upper level, because there's only 2 levels. So the upper level, you've got a section for One Piece card game, which is displaying a little tutorial on the screen, and then you can actually sit down and play the game as well. I think you can probably talk to them to get a tutorial set up in person. I didn't really ask or find out about that, but if this interests you, then this is probably worth checking out, especially because I think they are going to start holding local tournaments in this Camden location as well. I've also shown on screen just some of the stock that they had and the pricing that they had. You can find some of this stuff cheaper online, but again, this is a brick and mortar store in Camden, so actually I think prices are not too bad. Moving on to the rest of the floor, we've got figures galore, which is more my kind of thing. However, the figures that they have aren't my type of thing for the most part. There's no Bandai Tamashii. Let me just get that out of it. None of that is here. You've got a lot of the Vibration Stars here and the Banpresto lower end figures, which is going to make me sound kind of elitist, but these are figures I don't collect because, to be honest, it's fine for your budget, but I like to get the slightly higher end stuff and keep them more long term. But here is the stuff that they have available, plus the pricing. Pricing is, in my opinion, when it came to the more premium figures like the Portrait of Pirate or the Gem series, that's something I would just rather import. They were really expensive in this store. The smaller ones that were around £30 to around £36, I think there was a kind of like the Vibration Stars, for example, the Naruto stuff, and then some of the Dragon Ball stuff we're seeing here. Those probably aren't too bad pricing wise in London. At least you can definitely find them cheaper in the US. So if you are from the US just traveling in London, don't buy them from here, just buy them locally, and the shipping is probably still going to be cheaper for you. They also have the Ichiban Kuji stuff, which essentially is gambling, but for figures. I'll get to that in a second. Limited range of plushies that they had, but they were quite cute plushies, though kind of expensive at £16. I think it's £16 for the majority of them. 1 or 2 were probably a little bit less than that, but still expensive. The Itachi really caught my eye. I didn't buy it, but it was a really cute plush. Going back to the Precious Gem figures, though, so they had a couple on display here. They also had the Portrait of Pirate as well for One Piece stuff. Now, they were ridiculously priced in my opinion. I think I forgot the character's name from One Piece. The lady, she's £400, and then the Marco, I think it was £330. Number one, very expensive. Number two, I only think they should have a display version out here, and then the rest should be behind counter at that price. If you're going to charge people with that price, I'm not comfortable with it for them sitting out there so everyone can just kind of touch the box. That I don't like. But in terms of pricing, for me personally, cheaper for me to just import it. I really like the running Luffy figure, but it cost over £90. It was £92, which is just expensive. I'm going to look at that, £96. I'm going to look at that online and see. I had a quick look and it was definitely much, much cheaper to just import it, including shipping, including tax. And yes, again, you're paying for the brick and mortar side of things, but it's still too expensive for me. So the higher end figures, import them. Quickly going on to the Ichiban Kuji stuff, it's essentially gacha, but for figures or merchandise related stuff. This cost me £14 for the Dragon Ball one. Straight away, not worth it. I would absolutely not recommend this because it is essentially gambling, and I kind of regret doing this actually. I would rather just buy the figure straight up and give the money to charity. Part of your ticket cost for this does go to charity, but I'd rather just give the full amount to charity and then buy the figure. That's just me personally. I entered the Dragon Ball Super one. Most of the items were already claimed, which is fine. It happens. It's cool. But all I got from it was basically like a tea towel, a bib, a baby bib, a blanket. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like a cleaning cloth, to be honest. That cost me £14. So really not worth it. But if you do get a good prize like the figure, then sure, you're going to get a nice kind of value out of it. But for me, the lowest tier value should always also be the value of the ticket that you're paying for. So if I'm paying £14, I expect to get £14 minimum. So the cloth to me was not worth £14. So I don't recommend Ichiban Kuji. Japan do it a lot. Their regulations and laws are very different than London. So I don't know how long this would potentially last in the UK. It is actually 16 and above they ask you for. But yeah, you can buy the figures online, probably for just as cheaper or more cost effectively than entering it here, personally speaking. Rest of this floor then goes into some kind of stationary stuff, which I don't know if it's a Bandai brand or a kind of umbrella thing that they own. The stationery is quite cute. There's a couple of things here that did catch my eye that would be really nice gifts to a couple of my cousins. I didn't pick anything up. Sorry, cousins. But yeah, I didn't pick anything up. But it is something that might be something right up people's alley. They had a video game section as well, which to me is largely pointless because most people buy their games online now, or I guess it's a game video store. There was these two little cats that really caught my eye. Sadly, not for sale. I didn't actually buy a lot here. There's going to be some Miffy stuff coming soon, which I'm not sure what that's all about. And then they had some other gem stuff on display, which looked great, but I don't think these were for sale. So there's a night and day difference between the gem stuff versus the kind of lower end stuff for me. So the higher tier stuff is more what I'm into, which I didn't have, and the Tamashii stuff, which I didn't have, sadly. No metal builds and no Gundam kits, which was slightly odd. So overall, it's not a bad store at all. Fairly standard setup. I think pop-ups have done better jobs of it. But I think there's improvement to be done here, and I think it's a good start at the very least. The Gashapon floor is clearly very popular, so I think, and I wish that well as well. But I do hope that they can start bringing in the Bandai Tamashii line of stuff and Gundam kits as well, because those I think will be quite popular. So there's a few things that I think are clearly missing in this store, and pricing to me is a little bit. So personally, I'm not going to keep visiting this store a lot. I think it's great for tourists and people that don't like buying online. But for me, I know I can get better value for money online and probably get it quicker as well by just importing it from Japan. So that's my opinion on the Bandai Namco Cross store opened in London.